Hello, you wonderful people. Welcome back to the channel. Today, by popular request, we are talking about how to partner with influencers to increase your reach on Instagram. And a fun fact, since 2016, we have partnered with over 400 influencers and creators across various industries. So we're going to be talking about some best practices that you can implement to also see incredible results. Let's dive in.
Real influencers, and I mean like real genuine influencers, make phenomenal partners. They can do so much for you and your business with regard to the marketing. So they can drive brand awareness very, very well, probably almost one of the best ways to do it. They can bring a whole new audience and a whole new bunch of eyeballs and co-sign you essentially to their audience. And of course, more often than not, it will result in sales. Now, the most important thing that you can do before going into a partnership with an influencer or a creator is to understand exactly what it is you want to achieve with an influencer partnership. That is so key. Otherwise, kind of you're wasting both of your time. We actually walked you through the process of creating a social media strategy, including objectives, goals, and everything that ladders back up to your business goals, content pillars, the whole thing in this video right here. And that'll really allow you to break down the strategy that you're going to use to be able to warrant or to justify using an influencer, because it actually will fit into your plan for your social media marketing side of your business.
Now let's talk about how to find the right influencer. So once your goals are set, you have your objectives and you really understand your target audience, you want to find the right influencer who is going to be able to market to that audience because they have an engaged following, and they're also going to be able to move that audience to action. And we'll talk about what those metrics are going to look like later. So how do you find the right influencer? Let's talk about a DIY free way, and then we're also going to be talking about a paid way. But overall, remember that the influencers should be hyper relevant to your target audience and should already be talking about the topics that you would be talking about, or at least the topics that your target audience would be interested in. So you can find influencers directly through Instagram when we're talking about the free DIY way, and it's a way that we've done very often as well, because you go straight to the source. And all you need to do, because the search function on Instagram is so incredible, and because the right influencer has optimized their profile to make sure that they're able to be found, you just need to enter specific hashtags that you're likely already using with your content, or that you know your target audience would be following, and enter them directly in search. So for example, if we had a Toronto restaurant and we really wanted to have like a big influencer event, or have influencers come in and have our food and post about it, we would look for hashtags like Toronto foodie, for example. That's a big one. Or we could enter keywords like Toronto food blogger. And with this, Instagram would actually be pulling profiles up for us to look through. With that, you would then just scan through the actual feed that Instagram gives you, go through the hashtags and look up who feels right to you. Because of course, there's going to be also aesthetic considerations or just a general feel for what your brand is like. But that's all it takes, is really just entering the keywords, entering specific hashtags and looking them up directly, and then writing those profiles down. We always put the profile name, the follower number, and the industry in our first preliminary search. You can also find the right influencers through paid means. So this is through an influencer marketing agency or a social media agency that also specializes in influencers. For example, we find influencers for our clients all the time, but we don't consider ourselves an influencer marketing agency. It's just part of an overall social media strategy, and it's been a huge part, as we've talked about, of our strategy. And then there are also influencer tools that are available out there. There's so many, honestly, too many to name. And basically what they'll do is pool a bunch of influencers together based on the criteria that you enter. So exactly like follower, industry, any of these criteria, they'll pull them together and then you can select from there.
Keeping track of influencers in your industry is important, not just for the partnership side of things that we've just been talking about, but just for general algorithm affinity and relationships in your industry. Often like influencers and creators are somewhat influential in your industry, and it's good for you as the brand for them to know who you are and to have a personal relationship with you. I think that's really key. They're more inclined to help you if they like you 100%. Or do you a favor, do you a solid by, hey, look, don't worry about it.
And create better content even.
Because they like you.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just so important. And the algorithm nudge or the markers are actually a real great side effect of that. And we actually talked about it in this video to actually explain those markers and signals in the algorithm and how that actually helps you. So it's an all-encompassing great way to operate on Instagram. We have a great resource to kickstart your influencer marketing journey, the ultimate guide to influencer marketing, brought to you by HubSpot. If you want to learn the fundamentals of some of the best influencer marketing strategies, look no further. We've actually put a link in the description below with a free download, so you're absolutely going to want to take advantage of this. So let's talk about what's inside. So if you're a small business looking to get involved in influencer marketing, this is exactly what you need to get you moving in the right direction. It has everything you need to get started, learn the ropes, and create actionable, engaging, and spectacular campaigns. So included in this guide are email templates for influencer outreach, super handy, how influencer marketing actually moves the needle, how to measure the success of your campaign, some best practices, standard payment rates, super key, and setting up successful affiliate programs. So HubSpot's influencer marketing guide has your entire strategy covered. This guide will simplify the process for any business starting out in influencer marketing or tighten things up for the more experienced entrepreneurs. It is essential to have all the elements in place, and HubSpot has made it so easy to get started successfully. This amazing free resource in influencer marketing was once again brought to you by the wonderful folks at HubSpot. We have been big fans for a long time, so thank you very much, guys, for supporting the video and supporting the channel. These guys are phenomenal. We've been using a lot of their tools, not just their guides, but some really fun like email tools and things like that since we started the agency.
Yeah, literally forever. Yeah.
So this was like a cool full circle moment for us.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to talk about influencer marketing, to talk about this guide. It's going to have everything you need based on everything we're talking about here today. So make sure you hit that description below and grab that.
Now, you also want to make sure that when you are finding the right influencer, that they are legit. So let's talk about what you need to look for. Number one, they need to be an Instagram power user. So when we're talking about a power user, that means somebody who's using Instagram's features regularly. So they're posting reels, they're posting carousels, they're posting stories consistently. They're actually engaging with their audience. So you see them replying in comments. You see them kind of like talking directly to their audience. Maybe they're using poll stickers. So you want to be looking through their feed, but looking through their stories and highlights as well. Their profile is optimized, so it's clear who they're speaking to. If it's relevant, you want to make sure they're based in the location that you want your target audience to be in as well. And then they should also be consistently using the platform. So you want somebody who's regularly being served in the algorithm, so that way you don't run into posting something with them and collaborating with them and it's silent because they haven't posted in 2 months. So really make sure that they're consistently publishing content. And as we know, it is very easy to purchase followers. You could probably get followers. You could probably get like 50,000 followers for like $10 at this point. We get so many DMs about it across all the profiles. So followers are not just the metric that you want to look at. You actually want to look at who those followers are. The number doesn't matter as much as the people behind the number and how they're engaging. So look at the comments that the influencer is receiving. They can't just be emojis. Like there are people who purchase, and along with these purchases are like fire emojis just always get dropped, or star emojis, or really like bland comments like, love that, awesome. And it's like, no, if you want somebody who's actually going to be effective, you want them to have an engaged audience that is actually posting and responding to the comments in a way that's relevant to the post. So if you have somebody who's like a beauty blogger, someone should be replying and saying like, oh my gosh, that mascara is fantastic, like, or I can't wait to try it. That also lets you know about the influence that they have. We want to make sure that they're able to move the audience forward. So definitely go through the comments, make sure that they're genuine. And because we really don't play about, especially with money, we make sure the followers are authentic manually. We will go into the likes and we will go into the follows and we will scroll through. So we recommend you scroll through and just make sure that everything feels up and up in terms of the profiles that are interacting. So if you see profiles that are like foreign and doesn't really feel like it makes sense, or a really telltale sign is that when you go to the profiles, they're following like 7,500 people, which is like a max out that you can follow on Instagram. And then they're not really posting, or the posts are weird. You'll know this is not my target audience. So if that's real, that's not what I want. Or this is likely fake, which means I will waste my time and money doing all of this to reach nobody who's even real. So really cannot stress enough taking the time to go through the likes and going through the follows and the comments and just making sure these are real, genuine people who will move the needle for you. And then speaking on the size of their following, an industry standard we would say is that this is usually segmented into 3 to 4 types of influencers based on their following. So there are nano influencers, micro influencers, macro influencers, and what we were always calling, and I see it be said too, is like social celebs, for example. There's not like a solid number, and it varies between sources of what this looks like. We'll tell you what we always use in our influencer work, which is 1 to 10K means you're a nano influencer, 10 to 100K means you're a micro influencer. It used to be 50. But it's just because everyone's an influencer now, so those numbers expanded a little bit. And then 100K to a million means you're a macro influencer, and then a million plus means you're like a social celeb. You're a massive, probably massive YouTuber. Think about like a Mr. Beast or a Jackie Aina, somebody like that. So really, really big. And of course, with those tiers are going to come pricing. So if you're looking to engage with an influencer on a monetary basis, that's something that you're going to need to keep in mind, because if you have a larger budget, that's where that macro and those mega celebrities will come into play. But if you have a lower budget, we'd even consider really focusing on the nano. And we've had really great success with the nano because they usually have a more engaged audience. At the micro level, you'll also find a really highly targeted audience, and then it kind of expands out there the larger they get. Think about a Kim Kardashian, for example. She could have everybody in her base just following her because it's her, but it might not be as niche as like the mom with 50K followers in Texas, you know, who's speaking to other moms, you know, like, so pay really close attention to that. And that's why the topics are important too. Now that you have your influencers in mind, you know who you want. What you really want to do is make sure that you have everything down on paper or virtual paper. So you're going to need to create a campaign brief. So this is an overview of the important campaign details that you'll also want to be communicating with the influencer when you reach out to them, which we'll talk about next. So the HubSpot guide that we just mentioned below, they have really great templates, and one of them is a campaign overview. So you don't even really need to think about it. You could just go and check that out and put those details in there. So in your brief, in your overview, you're going to want to include key things like the messaging that should be there, the target audience, any key elements that should be included. So for example, if it was like a product, so how the product should be used and how it should be integrated, any hashtags that you'd be using as part of the campaign. We always love to use hashtags and usually are using influencer marketing as part of an overall wrapper.
Yeah,
but sometimes, exactly. Really, so usually the branded hashtag for sure has to be in there, and there might be one that's specifically to the campaign. You want to include your call to action, so what the influencer should be directing people to do. You're also going to want to include the deliverables, so what you should expect to receive as a result of the campaign, and then any key metrics that you're going to be following in order to measure success. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you'll use the elements of your campaign brief, that overview that you've created for yourself, and then leverage key elements of it to reach out to the influencer. So you can create a small document, usually like a PDF that you would have. You can do it in Canva if you want to be a bit fancier, and that'll be the brief that you reach out with, which we'll talk about next.
So now you're ready to actually reach out to the influencers or creators. So first, you're going to have your list that you prepared earlier of all of the influencers that you are interested in, and you can actually track that with one of the templates in the HubSpot document, once again, in the description. Now, when you're reaching out to the influencers, there's mainly 2 ways to do this. Primarily, there's a DM. That's probably the easiest, simplest way to do that. The nano influencers and micro influencers are more likely to have a DM and not a contact email, so you can reach directly out to them. Now, one downside of that is probably or potentially would go into the requests inbox. If they are professional about their craft and what it is that they do, they would probably check that daily and be able to get back to you in some sort of timely manner.
And if they're a professional, they should have their email address already optimized in their profile, to be honest. So that should be the second, the second one. They should have their email there.
An email is obviously the best way to do it because it keeps a separate paper trail. It may go to spam potentially, but it's less likely to do that. So if you're able to reach out to them via email just to keep it all there, and obviously email has a huge benefit that you can attach attach the campaign brief that Tiffany just mentioned. So those are the two main ways to outreach to influencers at any given time.
And there are email templates as well. This is why I'm saying this kit by HubSpot is amazing, because these are all the things that we did by ourselves and we're figuring out back in the day, you know, and now it's like all provided, handed over in a silver platter. But they have email templates and DM templates that you can leverage to reach out to the influencers with. So super convenient.
Particularly when it's your first time, you might not know what to say or how to approach it. And some brands with experience reaching out to us for our side projects, it can be a little awkward. The templates included in the HubSpot download will actually break down exactly what to say and what not to say about how to approach the influencer, how to make the ask and everything in like the most efficient and professional way. So we won't go into that here. You'll be able to see that below. But the next thing we're going to talk about is deliverables, which is something that we're going to put in the campaign brief. So to be clear, a deliverable is the actual ask. So what the influencer has to deliver to you as the brand or the company in the end of the campaign, or during the campaign, whatever it is, what actually has to be created. So the actual deliverables that we would recommend that you always ask for, first of all, is an in-feed post from the influencer, preferably a reel, and preferably as a collaboration post.
Make it mandatory.
There you go. At this point, I'd say mandatory is completely fair, and I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. I would also suggest to ask for a set of stories, and a set of stories is at least 3 frames typically, and that would also include, you would make sure that you ask for a link sticker going directly to the website or landing page, wherever it is you want to send them, including tagging you as well in the story, and of course in the in-feed post, and any branded hashtag. So those are really, really important. Now, with regard to that link that they're putting in the stories, if you don't have a website or you don't have a landing page or anywhere you want to send them, that instead could just be, hey, go follow this brand or go check out the offer with this brand. Collaborating with an influencer on a giveaway as well is another great way you can go about it if that's something that you're interested in. Alrighty, now let's talk about the offer. So first and foremost, it is definitely possible to work with influencers or creators as a value exchange. So that's like an in-kind trade. So they would charge for a post and then you would give them equivalent value in your products or services.
If you are giving money as an exchange or something really high value, you have to be, which Craig's going to talk about the offer, but then you have to be more flexible with your deliverables and that offer, because in the end, if someone only says like, okay, if you give me a bottle of wine, I'll post in my stories, you can't really push them to do something when you're not paying them to do it. So manage your expectations accordingly, but it is a really great strategy for brand awareness. It's just on you to be like, a creator determines their worth. So they are allowed to determine their worth. And if it makes sense for you, that's awesome. But if it doesn't, then you just have to like move forward and respect that. So
absolutely. Now, if you have a budget and you're actually paying for the campaign, you actually can be a lot stronger with your ask, or a little more like, this is what we expect in return for this amount of money. Now, the influencer can also come back to you because they do charge often for what they produce. And they might have a different idea of what that is. And there's still often negotiations with that. I would say from our experience, there are less negotiations when you are paying for the actual deliverables. If they're like on the higher level, like maybe more than 100K, often they even have a manager or something. And then it can be a little more complicated. So like Tiff said before, they get to decide their own
value
and value. There is no like governing body determining what the influencer marketing rates are. So it's very probably niche specific, influencer specific. Some people value their product or what they produce more than others. It's an interesting world to navigate. So we can't really get into that here because there is no right answer or exact thing that you see, but just something to keep in mind that, you know, when you are paying, you do have a bit of a stronger position than if you're just trying to trade for something.
Yeah, there was an industry standard back in the day that was $10 for every 100 followers.
I think it was, so therefore 100.
Yeah, I think we started saying $100, $100 per 1,000 followers. So you can use that as a gauge when you're even thinking, so that way you can manage your expectations based on the people that you're reaching out to. But again, just a gauge.
Now, for the creative that you're actually asking the influencer to create for this campaign, we find it's best to give them a bit of guidance with the messaging and with the overall kind of energy of what you want to put out there. But we're very big on not micromanaging them. They're freelancers essentially. So they're not used to having someone really like, you know, breathe down their neck and tell them exactly what they want. And that also stifles their creativity. Once again, creators, right?
Yeah.
This is what they do. They've created their own brand and their own audience and following because of the way that they do what they do. So if you try and change that to meet what you want for the brand, it kind of defeats the purpose. What you need to do is kind of let them do their thing. And more times it works out pretty well. The overall influencer marketing world is extraordinarily positive as far as the results.
Now, once the the influencer has said yes because you put forth such a beautiful offer that they couldn't refuse, then you're going to want to get a contract signed. This is super important, and the contract should lay out the campaign deliverables, the dates, the deadline, so all expectations. Something we didn't mention too is you'll also want to, if you can in that negotiation, get assets as well that you're able to use on your own channel. So in those deliverables, while you're still getting posts, it'd be great to try to negotiate to get images and assets to use. So not just the ones posted to the feed, but extras as well that you can use, because that's going to help you in having content. That's why smaller creators are also great for this as well, because they'll usually deliver more.
Yes.
When you are sharing contracts with influencers, our recommendation is that you do have these legally reviewed to make sure that you are on the up and up. After they've signed the contract, then you can send them the product or give them access to the service so that they can create the content for it.
So once the campaign is finished, you're going to want to check the metrics to see how it performed. Now, this is really important because this is going to guide you whether you would actually work with that particular creator again in future. So the easiest way to do it on Instagram is to ask for screenshots of the back end from the insights itself. So you can look at things like shares and saves, probably the most two important metrics because they are the strongest in the algorithm. You're going to want to look at reach and plays and views if it was a reel. Those type of metrics are really the main things that you want to see. You want to see how that went, and then you probably want to put it up against their other content as well to see how that performed in relation to what else they put out there, just to see how that went and how that was received by their audience. It's a bit more qualitative to a degree, but because it could have just been a nicer video, or I could have posted at a better time or something like that, but it'll at least give you a bit of a guide as to how that went and how it resonated with people.
And that's the benefit again of doing collab posts, because you'll get access to the in-feed stats, which is super key.
So important.
So if you have that, awesome. And then also the stories, you're going to want to see the views and things like that, and any engagements that they had, clicks on the link sticker, all of that. So super important to get those screenshot, no matter what in the end, in case something happened with the collaboration post. It's just good to have that all saved.
And that should be in the contract too, that they do have to, that's part of the deliverables. They deliver those insights to you in X amount of time after the campaign is finished.
And then on your side, you're also going to want to look for things like, what was your follower increase during that period of time? And then how many profile visits did you get during that period of time? Because again, we're focusing on reach as part of this video and getting more reach using the influencer's audience. So these are key metrics that will let you know if people actually came over to your profile and if it translated to something. So on their side, but on your side too. Now, we did not get into sales in this video because again, we were focusing on reach, but in HubSpot's guide, they do get into UTMs and then affiliate marketing. So these are other ways that you can monitor, but also incentivize influencers to work with you. Affiliate marketing is huge. That's a really massive industry for creators. So that's a really great incentive if you can make that happen. So again, check out the guide because you'll get that information in there. And again, thank you to HubSpot for sponsoring this video. That is all for today. So this was a really comprehensive, I would say. It's still high level, but it's just because we can't have videos that are like an hour long, but we really want to give you all the details so that you could take it away with you and run your own influencer campaigns. Influencer marketing has been such an incredible tool for us in really amplifying reach for our clients. It's probably our favorite way to do that, even beyond ads, because it's really tapped in. You get to really tap into the right audience, and they can be really fun in terms of the content they create and the campaigns that come of it. So if you like this video and you found it helpful, give us a thumbs up. We definitely recommend that you check out this video next, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.
Bye.